Hi guys. I want to talk to you today about something that we've added in our homeschool just this past year that's really, I think, added a lot of, fun to our homeschool. And hopefully it'll help someone else out there that maybe is trying to decide what things to add that might be fun for this coming school year. I've always been like super interested in other countries and other cultures and learning about them. I've always found that fascinating. So a friend of mine started sharing that she was doing a country studies with her kids, and they would each, I think she was doing each week, a different country and cooking recipes from that country. So I asked her to share the book with me that she was using, and this was the one that she shared with me. It's called Eat Your Way Around the World. And it's not a very big book. There's not, all the countries in it, but there's a few countries from each continent. So you get a variety. And so I ordered that first. And my original plan was to, study a country each week and do the meal, and it would be a weekly thing. But I quickly realized like it just wasn't going to work for us because I worked the country study into our morning time. And if you've listened to in my other videos where I talk about how we do morning time, we do a loop schedule. So I didn't want to only study another country for just 1 or 2 days. And if I'm doing a loop, then that's how much I get it in for a week. So it just varies for us. Some countries I've spent longer on than others, depending on how much information I'm able to find or just how it works out. So some countries we might stay in for 2 weeks, some it might be 3 or 4 weeks. I know some people like a little bit more schedule than that or whatever, but you can, tweak it however you want. So we've been spending a couple weeks on, a different country. And then at the very end, we'll eat some of the foods from that country. And some of them I've had the kids cook with me, and then some I've just ended up doing myself. It's one that's a little more difficult, or if they're, not interested, they're doing something else, I don't force it or anything. And cooking with kids is not my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I know that some people might really love it, but so anyway, so I've used this to find most of the recipes, but if I look in it and I think it's something that my kids are not probably going to eat great, then sometimes I just go to Pinterest and find other ones, that I think will be a little bit better of a fit, that might be appreciated a little bit more. I'm fine with them not loving all of them, of course. I mean, that's part of it is trying something new, but I also don't want it to be something that I know they don't like many of the ingredients and it's not going to get eaten, and that's our dinner that night, and they're, so sometimes I go to Pinterest to find something a little more suited to my kids' taste. All right, so I'm going to share just a handful of different resources that I've sort of pulled that I use, that I've liked, and there's many, many, many more out there, of course. But these are just some that we've used that we like. One resource I've used that I can't show you is the National Geographic. It's Nat Geo Kids. It's called Are We There Yet? And they will there will be 2 kids going to a different country, and the videos are pretty short. They're like maybe 10 to 15 minutes, which I like because it's easy just to, squeeze that in. It doesn't take super long. And it's not always the same kids. There's different families. It's always siblings. And they'll send them to, a country, and it's always on a specific topic. So like it might be on, I'm trying to think of one that we've seen, like the Taj Mahal. So it might be a specific place in a country or specific animals that are there. It's kind of a specific thing, not a huge long documentary. I mean, of course those are out there too, but I like the shorter ones that we can kind of squeeze in easier in morning time. All right, so I'm gonna just start showing you some that I found that I like. This one's called This Is How We Do It. And I got this on Amazon. I'm trying to think, actually, probably all of these books came from Amazon. I think all of them did. This one's pretty cool, but it doesn't show very many different countries. So like if you're trying to only buy a few books, then this might not be your top choice because it only has seven different countries. So there's 7 different children from 7 different countries. Has Italy, Japan, Uganda, Russia, India, Iran, Peru. And then there's like different topics through it. Like, this is where I live. And it shows, you know, what the buildings look like, or what their homes look like, what the apartments and buildings that they live in look like. And then it has clothing, who I live with, where I sleep. And the thing that my kids like about it is that it's based on actual people. So they think that's, you know, that's pretty cool. And the way that I've read this, and you could read all the way through it, of course, but the way that I decided to use it is just when we are learning about a particular country, I will just go through and only read those things. So like, they've seen the other parts of them, but I don't stop long on them. We just read about India if we're learning about India. So that way it kind of, you know, stretches that out, and they like that one a lot. That one's a good one. Another one that I like, I bought this version, Children Just Like Me. You may even remember, I think I remember this, or one like it. I don't know if it's this exact. I was gonna see what I remember looking at these as a kid. Yeah, it was probably this exact one, because this is copyright 95. But anyway, it just has, you know, children from different countries and you know, real children, and tells all about where they go to school, their family, a little bit about their religion, the clothes, you know, everything like that. So I bought this one first a year or 2 ago, before we were doing the country study, I believe, and they like it a lot. And then I saw that there was an updated version, and I got it. So this is just, you know, more recent. The children are, you know, would be still children now, whereas the other one, when we look through it, they're obviously not children anymore, because it's quite a while ago. So it has, you know, just updated. And they really like this one a lot. You can really spend a lot of time going over each little section. So that one's a good one. And we use both of them still, because there's some countries that are in one of them and not the other. So we use both still. They're both good. Another one that I got recently is If the World Were a Village. And this one, if you have kids that are very sensitive, you might want to look through it first yourself. My daughter did get upset when we were reading it one day, because it was talking about the number of people in the world that are hungry, that are food insecure, and that was upsetting for her, you know, to think about it being real people. But the basis of the book is that if the world were a village of only 100 people, so it's percents basically, but it puts it in a little bit easier to understand, you know, terminology for kids. But if the world were a village of 100 people, there would be, so like for instance, there would be 21 that speak a Chinese dialect, 9 that speak Hindi, 9 that speak English, 7 that speak Spanish, 4 that speak Bengali, 4 that speak Arabic, 3 that speak Portuguese, 3 that speak Russian. So it just tells that, like, it gives you an idea of how many out of every 100 people in the world. So it's very fascinating. I found it very fast. I'm learning from it. There's a lot of times where I go, wow, that's a crazy number. I didn't realize that it would be about that percentage of people in the world that speak that language, or that, you know, are different ages. There's one page where they talk about the percentage of people in the world that are, you know, 0 to 5 maybe, or I don't remember how they split it up, but that kind of thing. So it talks about religion, ages, food, air and water, school and work. So it's just very fascinating. And the way that I've been using it is we will usually just read, I like the illustrations too. We will usually just read a page at a time, And part of that's just so we're kind of stretching it out as we're learning about, all these other countries. And the other part of it is because, like I said, there are kind of some heavy topics, like where it talks about the percentage of children that go to school, of school-age children that go to school, and that some of them don't go to school because they have to earn money for their family, or because some of them are soldiers. And so that was kind of a heavy topic. There are heavy topics that come out of it. So you know your children best, and if it's, one that you think might be a tough one or not, but it's led to good discussions, and I'm really glad we got it. All right. These two are good for younger kids, I think, because there's not as much. There's a lot of photos, and there's not as many words. And if you've got young kids that have a hard time sitting still for books, they might like these. So this one's called What We Wear, and it has just children from different cultures, different countries that are dressed differently. And a lot of the outfits that are shown in here are like celebratory. It might not be what they wear all of the time, but more like if there's a special celebration. So that led to discussion. Like this one, we'd actually watched in India. I'm trying to think what they call it. Is it? I don't remember now. The Day of Color or something. There's like a color festival they do, and they use different paints and different colors. So it looked really cool. My kids were interested, and we watched it in the Are We There Yet on YouTube. So they thought that was cool, and we led to it when we got to that. In the book. Another one's Bread. This is another good one if you've got young ones that have a harder time sitting still for longer books. And I actually got this one for 60 cents at a used bookstore, so that was nice. But it's just cool. It shows different bread from different countries and how they might eat it. There's just like a peanut butter and jelly, and it tells, I'm trying to think, I think in the back it tells where it does. In the back it tells you on each page, what they're eating and what country it's from. So it shows different forms of bread. But they like that. So that's one we've done. Another one is What the World Eats. And this one's really fascinating because it shows from different countries. It'll show a family with, you've probably seen these before. Like I've seen them on like Facebook posts before, where it'll show, 10 different countries and how much they pay for like a week's worth of groceries and what they eat. So that's what this is. And it breaks it down. So it shows the picture, and then it breaks it down on the next page. It'll break it down how much they paid for like each category of food, like how much they spent on dairy or how much they spent on meat, things like that. And on some of the pages, it doesn't on this one. On some of the pages, it gives a little bit more. Here's one. Okay, like it says street food. It's like street food pictures. So the kids like that. We haven't used it that much. I haven't had it as long, and I'll be honest, I put it on my shelf and kind of forgot that I had it. So I pulled it out the last time, but that's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to see, I think it's fascinating to see how much it costs in other countries when you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, they got all of that for only what would be equivalent to such and such in US dollars. So that's a pretty cool one, and it goes along nicely with the meal part, with the cooking different foods, because sometimes they'll recognize foods that we read about or tried. Another thing that I've done is, and I don't do this for all of them because I'm not gonna purchase a picture book for picture books and things like that for every single country that we do, but I have done it some. And like for instance, like when we learned about Russia, we read The Noisy Paint Box, which is about the artist Kandinsky, and so that was neat. And we did like an art project with it. So I try to tie in, if I can, the music. A lot of times we'll play like music from that country when we eat our meal, or if we're doing an art project that goes along with it and things like that. So I like to tie in kind of an artist or a musician or composer, you know, when we're learning about another country. So that's another thing that we've done that the kids really like. One other thing that I just found, I haven't actually done it with my kids yet because I just found it myself. But my mom introduced me to the show Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix, if you have Netflix. And I would say it's a pretty family-friendly show. There are occasional curse words in it, but it's very, you know, it's overall, I would say it's a very family-friendly show. Monitor what my kids watch pretty closely, and I'm gonna let them watch an episode of that and see how they like it, because I think they would like it. But the show's based on, I mean, the show is, the guy that was the producer and writer on Everybody Loves Raymond goes to all these different countries, and he will try different foods, and it's pretty cool because he'll go to like a family's house and eat with them, and you get to see, you know, how that looks the same or different. And he'll also go to like gourmet restaurants that are very fancy. They don't look like anything I've ever gone to. And he also go to like casual places or go to the street, the street food vendors and just things like that. So you get kind of like an array of different types of foods. And so you get to see a lot of the country too, the architecture and all that kind of things, the landscape. So that's a pretty cool one too. I'd say just, you know, preview it yourself. But that one's a neat one that I think would be a nice thing to add in too, because I don't know, there's been a lot of conversation about appreciating other cultures and other people. And, you know, you hear people say, I see no color, I see everyone is just equal. And that's definitely not the goal. And I think that studying other cultures and, you know, reading about other places helps kids to realize that there's beauty in the uniqueness, that if we were all the exact same, it would be a super boring place. So that's part of my goal, is just to, you know, open their eyes to the beauty in everybody's differences. And they enjoy it a lot. So if it's something that you haven't done, it's an easy thing to add in. And you don't have to use as many resources, of course, but it's an easy thing to add in. And they really have enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed it because every single country that we've learned about, I've learned something new that I didn't know, you know, a different food or recipe or just all, you know, all kinds of things that I didn't know. So I just feel like it's an important lesson to pass on, you know, for them to see and appreciate. I don't do anything like testing them on what they learned or anything like that. Like, it's just to whet their appetite for like learning about other people. And they've really enjoyed it. So if it's something you haven't done, then it might be something that you want to add in. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.